They thought I was hiding a secret. My girlfriend's parents were genuinely disturbed when they discovered that I understood Russian. And the weird part? I didn't think I was hiding anything. Let me explain. My girlfriend has Russian roots, although she doesn't actually speak Russian herself. Her parents, however, are native Russian speakers. They also speak perfect German, which is the language we all normally use when we are together. Honestly, if you met them without knowing their background, you probably wouldn't even realize they weren't born and raised here. So whenever we are spending time together, everyone speaks German. Occasionally, her parents will say something to each other in Russian. Usually just short comments. Little back and forth conversations.
Nothing secret. Nothing serious. Nothing that anyone else in the room supposedly wasn't allowed to hear. And that's where this whole situation gets strange. Because I understand Russian. Not perfectly. I wouldn't call myself completely fluent. But I can definitely hold a conversation. And somehow, nobody knew. Well, almost nobody. My girlfriend always knew, but her parents didn't. And the reason they didn't know is incredibly simple. It never came up. See, my Russian is kind of random. My great-grandfather learned some Russian while he was a prisoner of war in Siberia. He passed parts of it down to his children. They passed some of it down again. And eventually, I ended up with this strange foundation of rudimentary Russian. Years later, I took an actual Russian course because I figured, why not make something useful out of this completely random skill? After that, I kept watching Russian content, listening to Russian occasionally. And over time, I got reasonably good at it. Good enough to understand conversations. Good enough to speak. Good enough that I could definitely surprise someone. But here's the thing. English is much easier for me. My French and Italian are also better. So Russian was never something I particularly showed off. It was just a language I happened to understand. Then I met my girlfriend. She has Russian roots, but she doesn't speak Russian. Her parents do. But again, everyone speaks German. Russian was never really a topic. At one point, they even learned about my great-grandfather being a prisoner of war in Siberia. And it became one of those weird historical coincidences where everyone makes slightly uncomfortable jokes. Some members of her mother's family had also been imprisoned there around the same time. So naturally, someone joked that maybe they were cellmates. Everyone laughed. But somehow, nobody ever asked the obvious question. Do you speak Russian? And I never thought to announce it. Then came the night everything changed. We were having a normal evening at my girlfriend's parents' house. A family friend came over. She was also Russian. Everything was completely relaxed. People were talking, joking, having a good time. Eventually, the conversation turned into that classic generational teasing. You know the kind. Older people joking about how their generation was tougher, harder, more resilient, and how younger generations apparently couldn't survive 5 minutes without Wi-Fi. It was clearly playful. Nobody was angry. Nobody was offended. So I decided to play along. The family friend said something about how much tougher their generation was compared to mine. And jokingly, I responded with something that basically meant, well, then I hope you're ready to prove it. Except, I said it in Russian. The room went silent. Not awkward silence. Not confused silence. Complete. What the hell just happened? Silence. Everyone looked at me. My girlfriend's parents looked absolutely shocked. And honestly,
oh.
Maybe I should have mentioned this earlier. The conversation continued eventually. The evening didn't turn into some huge disaster. But later, my girlfriend told me something unexpected. Her parents were actually disturbed. Not because of what I'd said. The joke itself was completely fine. They weren't offended by the language. They were disturbed because, apparently, They thought I'd been secretly understanding Russian this entire time. And, according to them, that meant I'd been hiding a major secret, which completely confused me, because was it a secret? Nobody had ever asked me. Russian had never been an important topic. We all communicated perfectly fine in German. They occasionally spoke Russian around me, but never about anything private. It was always random comments, random jokes, normal conversations. I wasn't secretly listening to confidential information. And if they had ever started discussing something genuinely private,
I would have said something.
but that never happened. So now, somehow, they're upset with me because I apparently kept them in the dark. And I genuinely don't understand what I was supposed to do differently. Was I supposed to walk into the house on the first day and announce, "By the way, before we begin dinner, here's a list of every language I understand"? It just seems ridiculous. My girlfriend is stuck in the middle. She understands why her parents were surprised. But she also agrees that the entire situation has become unnecessary drama, especially because she knew the entire time. So now I'm left wondering, did I actually do something wrong? Or did everyone just decide that my ability to speak Russian was secretly important only after they discovered it? What do you think?